One of the things which I contemplate in order to give talks which are relevant and which are hopefully you haven't heard before, because we have these Friday night talks once a week, but more than that, we have them all recorded. So sometimes people listening to these talks again and 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 again. I've been doing this job over here about 43 years over here in Noramara. I've given a talk about many, many things. Even like some of the talks on Buddhism and coffins. Do any of you remember my talk on Buddhism and coffins? It's a very, very good subject if you understand what a coffin is. Do you get afraid of coffins? Even tonight? Halloween. You don't have to be afraid. Instead, I always say just to think outside the box. Oh, come on. But that's true stories. Because I'm a Buddhist monk, I do spend a lot of time talking with funeral directors, going to the cemeteries, doing the ceremonies, for the people who pass away. And one of those experiences I had there in the funerals was sometimes, if it's a burial, you actually walk in front of the hearse, and with usually the funeral director. And I don't know why it is, but the Buddhist funerals, they're always usually in the furthest part of the cemetery. So it's usually a long distance, right? Because of that, I do recall one of those funeral directors. Of course, you take the opportunities to have a chat and ask them, what's it like spending your career as a person who manages funerals for people? And she told me she was interested that I even asked, because most people are afraid. She said she spent all her life in that industry, and she was about to retire soon. And this is true story. I know I've got many jokes about coffins and funerals, but this is a true story. And she said that sometimes, because she's senior in that industry, she has to stay and do the paperwork in the office, in the funeral home, sometimes late into the night. And I did ask her, do you see any ghosts? She said, oh yes. She's not afraid of them at all, and that's one message I always repeat for you. Please, no need ever to feel afraid. They've never ever done any harm to anybody. And this is the history of scientists. I was a member of the Psychic Research Society over in the UK. And so was one of my best friends. I keep mentioning his name. He came to one of our conferences. He came to a couple of conferences over in Singapore. His name was Bernard Carr, Professor B.J. Carr, who was one of the close associates, one of the 3 or 4 of the inner circle of Professor Stephen Hawkins. So he was a professor as well. He had a huge intellect and a close friend of mine, literally. And so we all knew the research over it was 120 years, I think now. That's when I was young. Maybe 140 years now, the London Society of Psychic Research. There has never, ever been even one case of a human being being physically harmed by a ghost. They are totally safe. So if you see any ghost tonight, just go boo at them and they will kind of run away. But this particular story was when she was working in the office late at night. Sometimes she would see the people who were, stored in cold storage in their coffins in the funeral home until the time came for the cremation or burial. She will see them walking past her office. The ghosts had just, no one was around, so they thought they could go and have a walk around. And she would always say, this is a funny part of the story, but totally true. She would say to them, get back in your box. And all the time they would have to do that. That's one of the things which I know. And I don't mind just saying it out here. They can never harm you. Scare you, yes, but not harm you. A lot of times they do beautiful things for you. Help you. Are kind to you. There are other beings in this world, like so many other beings we share this planet with. And if you treat them with not just respect, I'll say more than that, with understanding that you are always more powerful than they are. So treat them with respect, and if they are misbehaving, back in your box. But I just mentioned that story, I don't know why, but nevertheless, I know that any research which is done in science, any meditation which is done, any practices which we teach here, any reason why we have so many people come here, or so many monks and nuns in our monasteries. Have you ever thought why? One of the reasons is this is, BSWA. Well done, all of you who've been on our committees or helped out in whichever which way. It's one of the biggest Buddhist societies sort of in the world. I would say that even. And we're a Western country. Where do we get all this infrastructure from? And there is one reason, which I'm going to point out this evening. If it's whatever we do here, for example, chanting. If we do any chanting, I make sure it's fun. You put joy into it. That's why very often I've told you that whenever I have done a marriage blessing, a couple of times, it's just because I was tired. I did the funeral chant. They're still happily married. And I mention that because it makes it interesting. If I make a mistake, I will never hide it. I will let everybody know. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for something which is underlying perfection. A perfection which most people don't recognize. Where you give something your heart and you're always truthful. You're trying your best. I know when I was doing some of the chanting in Jhana Grove recently during the retreats, sometimes I suffer from hay fever, so it makes your throat a bit sort of harsh. And I was explaining to all the people listening to me in our retreat center that when I was doing that chant, which was a bit out of key, that chant, which is out of key, is incredibly powerful to get rid of ghosts. They can't stand it. It's so unmusical without any sonorous quality in it at all. That's a great way to get rid of ghosts. Chant out of key. And if you can't do it yourself, ask me. But it's also the beautiful chanting as well. Please excuse me. I'm just going off target a bit on the talk. But this was with one of my friends who I was a young monk over in Thailand, and this monk, he was a Vietnam veteran, fought in the war. He was American, a really good fellow. I liked him a lot. Especially, he was a US Marine. He volunteered to join the Marines and fight in Vietnam. At that time, no one could respect him. But when he was in Vietnam, he got shot in the back of the head. And as he was being carried to the helicopter to be evacuated, some shrapnel also pierced his body. And he thought that was it, he was going to end. He wouldn't survive this. He was very lucky that he did survive. There was a couple of interesting things happened to him. After he recovered, he became a Buddhist monk under Ajahn Brahm. And one of the things he could describe to me is what it means to have a blind spot. He thought he would lose all of his sight, but once they took the bandages off, he could actually see. And he was on a big pension. So he was thought he'd have a wonderful life, pensioned out of the army, and healthy enough. It was only one day he didn't need to go to work with his army pension. He was playing baseball, and somebody hit the ball in his direction. It was quite an easy catch. He put his hands up and watched the ball come towards him, and then the ball vanished. It disappeared. And then it came back again. And that is how he understood what a blind spot is. A blind spot in your field of vision is not a place which is black. It's just the brain fills in what it expects to see in that blind spot. For him, it was the ball disappearing and then suddenly appearing again. That's how he found out that. But eventually, that's a great way for any one of you who are worrying about understanding. What is correct understanding of things like Buddhism, of things like meditation, of things like rebirth, of things like meditation? Have you really penetrated it yet? The point is we all have blind spots, which over many years of living and practice we can fill in. But anyway, in particular this monk, who was a good friend, that he was doing some chanting and he decided to make it sonorous. I'm just going to do a little bit of the chanting now. It's usually banned in the forest traditions. Paritawa sameta sameta badanta. It was musical. And I thought it was very beautiful. I think a couple of you may remember this monk, because Venerable Ananda, an American, because of the wound in the back of his head, he had like a depression in the back of his head. Some of his brain had to be taken out. But he looked okay. Anyway, that the other monks in Wat Ba Na Na Chat, where I spent my first year, complained. They said, forest monks are not supposed to chant musically. We're supposed to be like, no beauty, no happiness, chant it, same tone, don't mess around like that ever again. And this poor monk, I remember him walking out of that hall, kind of depressed. He put so much energy and effort into learning that beautiful chant. And the meaning of the chant was supposed to invite heavenly beings to come and listen. And everyone was telling him off. And when I went past him, I am a rebel. And I said, if I was a heavenly being, I would have come. And just those kind words, just that much, if I was a heavenly being, I would have come, made him a friend for life. He always was a friend from that time on. And because he was a friend, you can discuss stories like what he went through and why he went through it. It's so easy to make friends when you praise them, when everyone else is, please just speak Australian, pissing them off. So be kind to them, it really works. These are the kind of things which you learnt. But anyhow, those sort of experiences show me the joy you have. If you're doing even Buddhist chanting, put some happiness into it, no matter what you're doing. That's one of the reasons also. I think it was it last Christmas time? I always try and do something different at Christmas time. Christmas is not a Buddhist holiday. But what we did do last time, we got some Christmas carol tunes, Western ones, and started chanting Buddhist chants to the Christmas carols. So the words were Buddhist, the tunes were well known as, what people do in the West for Christmas. I was very happy with that, because it was making those chants, which were so meaningful, enjoyable. And that's been the whole important essence of Buddhist practice. If it's enjoyable, people would love to do them again. One of the things which I was talking with the monks about recently was why we even keep precepts. If you become a full member of this place, you have to take the 5 precepts. And often, as I did this evening, when somebody said, yeah, they're keeping the 5 precepts, then I challenge them. How many of you here keep the 5 precepts? None of you? You put your hands up. So, okay, great. What's the 3rd precept? Oh, no. What's the 2nd precept? And they go blank. I scare them. That's not the reason why we keep precepts. There are 5 precepts, not deliberately killing another human being, let alone human beings, not swatting mosquitoes, sorry. No, I never did, there's no mosquito there. Not stealing, not committing adultery, not lying, and not taking alcohol or drugs. Why? What's wrong with a bit of alcohol and drugs? What's wrong with a bit of lying? Many times people ask me that question. And so, you know what I say? Honestly, I say, well, come on, being strict, is really not a good path. So I say, well, okay. They say, well, just a little bit of, please excuse me, a little bit of sexual indulgence. Is that wrong? They always ask for that one. A little bit. My experience in life, they always say, well, forget about the other ones, but can I just have a little bit of that? And still keep my precepts. And so I said, well, okay, you've got to be kind. I'll allow you just a little bit of murder, a little bit of stealing. They never ask about the other ones. So the answer is, why do you want to do that anyway? My own upbringing, I didn't know why we should keep any precepts or have any virtue. I discovered it myself, honestly. When I was young, if I could get on a bus or an underground in London without paying, fine, I thought. But then after a while, I just couldn't complete the journey if I didn't have a ticket. You kind of felt it wasn't right. I don't know how else to describe it. I just wanted, to pay the small amount of money to get on the bus. I just couldn't steal. When I was young, I became a vegetarian. I'm not now, because as a monk we have different rules to keep. I can argue about that later. But at that time, even though my poor mother had to put up with me, just after she'd made a meal for others, I had to get the frying pan and scrub it 3 or 4 times before I could fry any tofu or anything else in it. I didn't want my meal to be desecrated by what she'd cooked in the frying pan beforehand. That's how sort of stupid I was. But I certainly would not kill any animals. You know, once, when I was 11 years of age, I still remember this, my father asked me, "What would you like for your birthday?" And I said, one thing I would really like was a fishing rod. I see all my friends had fishing rods. And then he said, "They're really expensive." So my whole family got together, and this was my birthday and Christmas present, a fishing rod. And I always loved my grandfather for what he did. I think they were expensive. He managed to give the biggest donation for my fishing rod. And they took me to this lake outside of London. You could not fish in the River Thames in those days. There were no fish in that river. It was all polluted. So there's a lake outside, and I went there with my fishing rod, really excited. I was going to go fishing today. And my grandfather had to teach me how to cast the rod. He had it all ready, and he cast it. It got stuck in a tree. I'm not exaggerating. He pulled at it to try and release it, and it broke. That was the end of my fishing. I never had one go at it. I was really upset at my grandfather for that, but these days, thank you so much. But after a while, when you saw, how these little animals were suffering, there's no way you could do that anymore. I just couldn't. Even when I got to Thailand as a monk, that was really hard there, because the mosquitoes would come out in the evening. Now this was a Buddhist country, okay? Those mosquitoes in Thailand, the same with Sri Lanka, they see a bald head and a brown robe. They know they've been conditioned, brainwashed over so many lives, a couple of 100 years or a couple of 1,000 years in Sri Lanka. They can recognize a monk as a place where they can have a safe dinner. Now just imagine what it must be like to be a mosquito. You've seen many of your friends go for some lunch or dinner and they never return. They've been squashed to death. You've seen that, you understand. Just getting some dinner is a very scary and dangerous option for a mosquito. But you see a monk, safe. They can go and suck out some blood, and they don't have to worry about being squashed. Imagine you went to dinner this evening to one of these restaurants, and you never knew whether you're going to go home. You may be squashed before you even finish your lunch. That's what it's like being a mosquito. So anyhow, over in Thailand, mosquitoes know. Monks, safe dinner. Not only that, have a look at your hair. How much hair do you have? How much hair do I have? There's more seats on the dinner table for a monk. And this is the way we sort of dress over in Thailand. Just, the robe, half on our body, and all this skin, all this juicy blood they can drink. And not only that, to make it even worse, this was the first time in northeast Thailand, when I was there, the first time that those villagers saw Western monks. Soon all of the mosquitoes got to know Western food. They They may not like Western food, they may prefer Thai food, but this was the first time in their history they'd ever had the opportunity to get Western food. So they told all it's like the trend, the fashion, go out for a Western meal. And that's what they did. Hundreds of them. I'm not joking, hundreds of them. Because with my friend, he was an American, and we sat next to each other for quite a while, and we would count the mosquitoes on our arms and head. I'm not exaggerating. One thing you can rely upon with a monk, we also keep that fourth precept of not lying, not exaggerating. 60 or 70 at a time. That was a lot of mozzies. Kind of unendurable. You know how I endured? I never squashed any. I realized that if you are out meditating, you may not understand this, but I have to say this. If you get into deep states of meditation, your metabolism goes way down. You just don't need to breathe. If you are breathing, you're breathing so slowly. And it was because of that. I never understood it at the time. That after the meditation was finished, I looked at my arm, there was no bumps, the signs of mosquito bites. And I thought that was some sort of psychic power of meditation. It's not a psychic power of meditation. All it is, when your metabolism goes down, the carbon dioxide which comes out of your pores reduces enormously, and the mosquitoes can't find you. That's why I hardly got any bites. I was invisible for them, simply because the metabolism had gone down. The more you worry about them, the more they know you're there. So these were some of the reasons why I never needed to harm any living beings. And never needed to steal, never needed... I have to say this, please excuse me for saying this. I was heterosexual, so I had girlfriends when I was young. I have to say, only one at a time. And the reason was, because I could not afford to. They were really expensive. And apparently they still are. I remember one of the the young Thai men, he was doing very well. He had a little job as well as studying and saving up a bit. Once he got a girlfriend from another school here, he said all his savings went way, way down. I couldn't help but say, I told you so. But anyhow, he did very well in the end. But all of these things which we learn from just keeping ordinary precepts, I noticed it made my life more fun, more joyful. I could trust myself. Other people could trust me. And especially when somebody drops something and you just, please, here's your wallet, you just dropped it, and all the cash was there. That impressed people. And that honesty which I've seen from every one of you who come to these places. I see you just when you come to our monasteries, see your honesty, your kindness. That's virtue too. Just how that makes me happy. It makes me smile. And that's one of the reasons why when in the old days when I was teaching a retreat at a Catholic monastery, we were looking for places so we could hold retreats. This one was over in Safety Bay in Penguin Road. I never forget the name of that street, Penguin Road. And I think many of you went on those retreats. I know you did, Dennis, many times. But I remember just on the interview time, when being the teacher, I was asking people about their meditation, giving them some help. Between interviews, I just looked through the window, and it was a Sunday. And the church service had just finished, and there was just two members of their communion who were saying goodbye to each other. And one said to the other, be good. And the other one said, no, that's no fun. And that really kind of hit me. I never forget that saying. That's totally wrong. If I could get outside quickly enough, I would run outside and say, no, you're wrong, sir. Being good is immense fun. I've been doing this for so many years now. And am I a happy monk? I'm saying that. How many of you have seen me at all situations, all particular times? Dennis, you know me for a long time. I've already mentioned you. Am I a happy monk?
You're a very happy monk, Ajahn Brahm.
Thank you, Dennis.
Sometimes you're too happy.
I'll accept that. It does make you happy. Why? Worries, concerns kind of disappear. You have beautiful friends around to help you and serve you and look after you. You have great fun together, telling silly stories and jokes. That's why I tell a lot of jokes. The happier I am, I can't help it. You tell funny stories and jokes. I think already. No, okay, I'm not going to behave. Can I? Yeah, okay. But it's one of the things which happens. The happier you are, the easier your life goes. So often, like stories like when you go traveling, I do the traveling stories now. How often, when you've gone through airports, like many of you do, some of you are going through airports this evening, how many of you ever get into trouble with the customs security? In the United States, when I was visiting there some years ago, someone looked at me, and they were letting most people through. They stopped me and said, "Excuse me, sir, we don't let people through that easy if you're wearing a robe." And they asked me, "Sir, what have you got underneath your robe?" And they asked, "Is it a suicide belt?" And I said, "No, it's fat." And the customs officer said, "Same thing." Or in Perth airport, when I was going through the customs, so have you got any liquids in your bag? Any like toothpaste? Any, looking at me, any hair gel? I thanked the customer. There's a few people behind me, they couldn't help but burst out laughing as well. They said, "Oh, get through." I love it when sort of you get, you're really sincere, not trying to demean anybody. Imagine what it must be like being a customs official. No one is ever kind to you or cracks jokes at you. If they crack jokes in the wrong way, then you get extra surveillance. But if you've got a good mood, you have a wonderful time wherever you are, going through all sorts of customs clearances or whatever. One of those times, this is a long time ago now, that was when, coming back from all places, from Sri Lanka, coming into Perth airport, and this time they had the dogs sniffing everybody. Did I tell this story last week or 2 weeks ago? I told it somewhere anyway. They had the sniffer dogs, and they came to me. I was standing in line, and the dog stopped, put its muzzle right under my robe, and wagged its tail really hard. I knew I was in trouble because the lady standing in front of me walked a step further away from me, and the guy behind me walked a step further back. They didn't want to be associated with this drug dealer. So anyway, I relax. What else can you do? And they were very slow checking everybody. So then the dog came round for a second trip. Down the lines it went, back up the line, down the line to my line. When it came to me, stopped again. Put its head right under my robe, wagged its tail, and the guy leading it had to really pull it hard to get it off me. So when I got to the counter, well, they asked me, "Sir, where are the drugs?" I didn't even doubt. I didn't say, "Have you carrying any drugs?" or "What have you got in your bag?" Where are they? And so of course I said, "Well, I'm a monk, I don't carry drugs." He said, "We don't believe you." I think so. I showed him my bag. You've all seen the story of how I travel. That's right, where is it? This and this, that's it. Even if I go long distances, that's all I carry. It's very easy. Have a look inside. It's very easy to see. There's nothing in there. A few papers, and put their hands in there if they wish. So what about under your robe? I won't do it here, but it's quite easy to open it up. That's what I did. And so they said, okay, why was it, they asked, why was it that a drug sniffer dog trained to be able to smell narcotics, why did he stop at you and wag his tail so hard? Twice. And so I started to talk to the customs officer about loving kindness, metta. If you practice metta and share metta to the little dog, of course it doesn't want to leave you. It liked me. That really upset the customs officer. Apparently now they have these things on TV. Is that correct? I wish that was wasn't so long ago when they didn't have the TV. It'd be great to get a copy of that so I could play. But anyway, so okay, get out of here. I don't know how many times those officers in the airport said, "Get out of here, Ajahn Brahm." That's one of the reasons I know them all. Often these days when I go to Perth Airport, or coming back again, first of all, if I'm going, they say, "You're going off again?" And when I come back, they say, "Are you going to give the talk on Friday night?" They know this place. They come here. Anyway, so that I have a lot of fun, having no fear, because there's nothing wrong with my luggage, nothing to worry about. That makes life very peaceful and happy. That's one of the reasons why you do keep precepts. Not because of going some heaven realm after you die. You go to heaven realm now, in this life. You enjoy yourself. And that's the same, not just with precepts, with the meditation you do. I'm being honest now. Of course I talk about meditation every week, because I'm a monk and that's what I do and that's what I enjoy the most. Why is it that I've been meditating for how many years now? 51 years as a monk. That's about 5 years beforehand. 56 years. It's a long time to meditate. I do other things like going to the toilet and having a shower and things, but that's one of my main occupations. And sometimes people ask, don't you get bored? Is that all you do, just sitting on your backside, watching your breath go in, go out, go in, go out, for 56 years? And the point is, it's even more fun than keeping precepts or doing bad chanting. That's something which is hard for me to actually to prove to you, even though it should be obvious for such a long time. Why? It's the most joyful thing you ever do. I have mentioned that to you in the meditation which I taught today, such as even the beginning of it, just relaxing the body. There's one part of that guided meditation I didn't do last week, or no, not last, yeah, it was last, well, a couple of weeks ago, which I should have done. That is why when you start relaxing your body, when everything has been relaxed one after the other, and your head has been relaxed, and the whole body is just so at ease, that is joyful. That by itself is a wonderful feeling. That's why, as a monk, I thought you shouldn't have happiness when I was a young monk. No way. Indulge in it. I usually give myself a couple of minutes at least. Once the whole body is relaxed, it feels good. Honestly, it does feel really pleasurable. And when I just notice that pleasure of just relaxing the body part of meditation, the relaxation goes deeper. You're more relaxed. That feels really good. Not just feeling good. This is my 75th year now. I should be getting sick. I should have more diseases. For all of you doctors and nurses who would love to make the merit of looking after me, I'm sorry. You haven't had that opportunity. I've been way too healthy. When was the last time I was sick? I remember the last time I went into hospital. That was, how long ago was that? 40 years ago or something? Over in Rockingham Hospital. It was a small hospital then. And we have one of our supporters here, Sri Lankan, is Dr. Was it Mervyn Mendes? Yeah. Dr. Mendes, anyway. And Dr. Mendes, he looked at me and said, look, I'm a specialist. I work in Rockingham, was it Safety Bay Hospital? I forget which. Anyway, one of those small hospitals there. I work in the hospital. I can get you admitted and just do some tests on you for 6 days. See if there's anything wrong with you. So he got me into the hospital. My first fun and games going into an Australian hospital was when they asked me, says, sir, you're going to be staying in hospital for a few days. Have you got your pajamas? Honestly, I don't have any pajamas. Even these days, I don't have any pajamas. So I told the nurse doing the registration to admit me into hospital, I said, it's either these robes or naked. Take your choice. Honestly, I said that. I'm not exaggerating or making it up. I said that. And I think she may have thought they got me into the wrong hospital. But anyway, she said, okay. So I went in my robes. And when I went into the bed, and the nurses came just to do all the checking, whatever, they noticed there was a ward, like 4 beds, male ward, and my doctor, Dr. Mendes, he said he was a gynecologist. So the nurses had great fun trying to understand what's a Buddhist monk, a male, being treated by a gynecologist. Honestly, I love that when it makes people laugh and be happy in hospital. How many people go to hospital and get happy when they see a Buddhist monk still wearing his robes, bald head, under a gynecologist? It makes them think. And anyhow, I couldn't find anything wrong with me, so I went back to monastery after about 6 days. But nevertheless, I enjoyed that experience, the laughter, the joy, the happiness. And honestly, I think that was one of the best ingredients for the cure of whatever I had, even if it was something. I had really low energy. The joy and the happiness is really important. And it's the same when you meditate. So my body kind of gets so relaxed. Then you go into, I mentioned this during this meditation today, peace. What is peace? When you get to know it, what peace is. It's one of the most beautiful mental objects you can ever focus on. Peace. You don't want anything, you don't need anything, you don't need to get rid of anything. You find these great moments of peace. You don't have to prove anything, do anything, change anything. You're like perfect as you are in this moment. And I mean that. This moment is just, how can you ever improve it? It's peaceful. And then from the peace, that's pretty amazing to enjoy that. And allow the joy to come up as you're enjoying the meditation. Then the silence. Oh. We have one visitor who's been here for a month from Sri Lanka. And she's on the aircraft now, I believe. Is that correct, Prem? Another 2 days. Is she here today? Are you here, Gita? Oh, sorry, it's in the back. Sorry, I didn't want to say what you told me this morning. But anyway, do you mind if I say? Okay. She was saying just what she loved about this place so much was how peaceful and still it was. About Jhana Grove Retreat Center. That's a happy place. It's a meditation retreat center, but when people go there, they can taste the stillness and the peace. What more do you want in life? Sometimes people work hard to get enough money to get a place where you can enjoy stillness and peace. Or they just want to get rid of all the problems in their life, get healthy, and then just enjoy the peace and stillness. It's right there, right now. I shouldn't really say too much about that, otherwise you'll all be booking in to go there. But it is true. You go there and it's just so peaceful, so still. You don't want anything else in the whole world. Why would you? You're content, satisfied, don't want anything else. You really get into it. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. That peace and stillness is really joyful. And sometimes you see people on these retreats having silly smiles on their face. Even more silly than Ajahn Brahm's smile. You got used to mine. I wasn't born like this. This is what grows on you. That joy and that happiness shows you why we meditate. Why we keep precepts. Why we even chant. Out of joy. Why you do anything. You do that because it gives you that happiness, that joy. When I was in Thailand, I see a Thai, 1 or 2 Thais in the back there. The village used to tell us, if it's not Sanuk, Madong Tam. Jing Mai? She's nodding her head. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. They'd always do that. And I love the philosophy there. When you do stuff at home or at work, do you still do it even though it's not fun? No way. If you're working at the Buddhist Society of Western Australia as a volunteer, make it fun. If it's not fun, don't do it. Is that good advice? You do that, and after a while you just want to meditate, you want to wash the dishes, and mess around. That's my philosophy. Do I practice like that, Mrs. President? So you've got a nice smile on your face, so you must be getting there. Learning how to enjoy whatever you have to do here. Sometimes it's impossible. What are you having fun for? Having all that responsibility? What about everybody else who does all these responsible things? Are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying this talk here? If it's not, just get out of here. That's what I would do. And that word, sanuk, It's a northeast Thai sanuk, fun, joyful. If it's not sanuk, not worth doing. It's amazing how much work you do that way. And you have a lot of wonderful memories doing it. So anyway, as again, I always talk way too long. But none of you went out. Amazing. You must have felt that the talk was sanuk. Thank you for listening. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. That's a Thai Laotian word. Okay. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Prem. Yeah?
Yes, thank you. Is there any understanding of the mechanism involved in the ghosts understanding what, when you are doing some chanting or meditating, they come to know, they get to know and then go away or do something? What do you think is the mechanism?
Okay, the chanting and the ghosts.
Yeah.
Look, because I was a scientist, still am, and because the background, the way I was taught, you never just go and assume anything, even if it's said so in some sutta or some Buddhist book. You go and find out for yourself. And I've told this story to you before, true story. My meditation was really good at the beginning because I wasn't scared. It really helped. So one evening I went looking for ghosts. Please excuse me, leaving your body and going to see if you can find some. So I could see them, with my own mental eyes. I always wanted to know, do they exist? And this was in Wat Ba Nana Chat, which was a cremation ground.
Yeah.
So I remember just walking through the forest, seeing one. There's many more just past him. I was walking towards him. And this ghost told me, this is a true story, this ghost told me, "You can see us?" I said, "Yeah." Ah! And the ghost started running away. I said, "No, stop, I'm not going to harm you." So that's when I had a little chat with the ghost. Even though my local language skill was not that good, you found out that if you do kind of communicate with the ghost, you don't communicate within the language, it's like mind to mind.
Mind to mind, yeah.
And the one thing I remember, that's such a long time ago, that ghost, I asked the ghost, is there anything I can get for you? I wasn't trying to get rid of them or harm them. You don't want to harm other beings. So what they wanted was some gel, Thai food. So I said, "I'll try and get some for you tomorrow and leave some out for you." Gel. So that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, so it's a mind-to-mind connection.
Your mind to mind, but just, they wanted something, just give them it, even if they can't eat it. Just is showing them kindness.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No need to feel afraid. Okay, I've got some questions here. Where's the meditation questions? Buddha told, this is from Imina, Buddha told, "End of this life is beginning of the next life." Did he mean we are moving to the next life, are not solved problems, mental illnesses, emotional issues, disabilities, etc.? Or is it apply only for the emotional during moment of death? Thank you very much, dear Ajahn Brahm, for your kindness and sharing your wisdom. It's your tendencies. What you kind of, how the Buddha called it, was how you lean. See, if a tree is leaning to the west and it gets cut down, it will fall to the west. So if you're leaning as a Buddhist, you like Buddhism, you like meditating, when you die, that's where you'll go to. It's kind of obvious. If you like gambling, say, and you would like to do the horse racing or something, then that's what you will lean towards in your next life. there was this one person, and now come on, Ajahn Brahm. It's this English comic. And I did look up his name last time, and I keep forgetting it. But anyway, he was a comic, a TV personality. And when he died, sorry, I'm running ahead of myself. One day when he got lost in London, he went down a road he'd never been down before, and then he recognized one of the houses as where he lived in his previous life. Because of that, he knocked on the door, and they opened. They weren't scared because they recognized him from the TV. He was a well-known personality. And he said to them, excuse me, but I used to live here. It's impossible, they said. We lived here since the Second World War. No, before the Second World War, he said. You're not old enough for that. And he said his name was Dan Leno before. He was a music hall comedian. And he had a little blue plaque on the wall. He took them in the house and showed them all the renovations they'd done since he lived there. A spontaneous memory of past lives. That's what that was. So sometimes that was a good example of somebody who was a comedian in his previous life, a famous one, and he was a comedian in his next life as well. So who do you think I was in my previous life? Some of those tendencies, they don't disappear. Okay. Oh, okay. iCloud backup. This pad hasn't been backed up in 14 weeks. Okay, see what happens. Dear Ajahn Brahm, I have a question about importance of harmony in unavoidable situation. Should we sacrifice our ideals for the sake of harmony? For example, in workplace or in family, let's say with friends went out to drink. What is harmony? Does that mean I need to participate? Yes, you do need to participate. But have some orange juice. I always say that, I think I said this a week or two ago. If you have your friends ask you, let's go out fishing. Is fishing against the precepts in Buddhism? Don't answer. I always give trick questions. I say, yeah, sure, you can go out and fish with your friends, but make sure you don't put a hook on the end of the line. It's much more peaceful, you have much more fun when you keep your precepts. And if you go out drinking, my friends at university, I gave up drinking when I was at university, and I still went to all the parties with my friends. They wanted someone sober to drive them home. I got invited to more parties than ever before. And I enjoyed them much more. And why do you need drink? Alcohol. It's totally unnecessary. You enjoy life much more without it. So that's why they invite you out, yeah. But I'll just not have anything alcoholic. So that's how you can keep harmony, by being smart about it. Make sense? Okay. I don't think I convinced you. Maybe I'm answering too many questions, or answering too slowly. The third question. Can you reflect on how contemplating our own death can bring us happiness and freedom in this life? Contemplating your own death. Haven't you got other things to contemplate? Sometimes you contemplate your own death, and look, there's one of our monks in Bodhinyana monastery who's supposed to have died at the beginning of the rains retreat. That's about over 3 or 4 months ago. And he was making me promises. He said, I think I'm going to die tonight. He never did. I'm not going to believe his promises anymore. Is that really a good idea? In other words, you can contemplate death, but what you really want to contemplate is like letting go of things. Don't call it death. contemplate just transitioning. Some of you go to other countries, some of you other lives, some of you other universities or whatever. Don't worry about where you're going, just know that this happens. We move from place to place. And last one, not being a Buddhist, I love to meditate and don't believe in jhanas, never saw one. You may never have seen one. I've never seen the Eiffel Tower. I've never been to France, honestly. But I believe there is an Eiffel Tower. I've never seen one. And as for the jhanas, goodness gracious, they certainly do exist. In one of the most gorgeous parts of Buddhism, you get into some of these jhanas and really bliss out. I don't want you to miss out on that one. But anyway, it feels really good. You need all the theoretical stuff to get deeper in meditation? No. All that theoretical stuff, sometimes that's a hindrance. In the time of the Buddha, just people had hardly any understanding at all, and they still got into these incredible meditations. You don't need all the theory. You don't need to go to school and get a first-class honours degree in Buddhist theory in order to get into the jhanas. Just sit there and let go. Be still. That's all you need. Thank you for listening. Sadhu. It is a bit late, so... was there any other questions? Okay. Okay.
Can I say something, Ajahn Brahm?
Go on.
Okay.
I can't
Ajahn
stop
Brahm,
you, I know that.
You talk about ghosts, ghosts.
Oh,
Tonight?
ghosts again.
Yeah. Are they real thing, Ajahn Brahm, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. They're real. The beings. Some of the beings don't know they've died. Some of them have died recently, but they haven't left this realm yet. They are real.
And can they interact with men, with people?
And women too.
Yeah.
And dogs and other animals.
Yeah, yeah. Can I share my experience with a ghost, Ajahn Brahm, you want?
Okay, if we're going to tell a ghost story, can we turn all the lights off, please? Give some atmosphere.
No,
Go on.
this happened, long time ago in Perth, in Perth.
Drew, behave.
This happened in Perth, when I first came to Perth.
Yeah?
Yeah, one night, when I was sleeping, in my subconscious mind, a ghost came to make love to me. Yeah.
Okay. I know, I've heard in Catholicism, they have a name for that. I think they call it an incubus. And I was wondering just where that whole idea came from. But yeah. But anyway, send them away.
Yeah, like that's why I think to me it's a real thing.
Yeah. But that's not really a useful thing. The useful thing is when you can give it some kindness back, some happiness.
But they are real beings and they are real,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Because I'm a monk, I've got no experience on that. You got the lights back on again, Drew. Excellent. Okay, so...
One lady's left a bag outside reception.
Okay, great, yeah. Excellent. Okay, so now we can finish off by paying respects to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and then afterwards, those who want to, as usual, form a line here to ask personal questions. I'll still be here for a few more minutes. Oh, it's fans. Arahant Samba Sambuddho Bhagava Buddha Bhagavanta Abhivademi Suakato Bhagavata Patipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sangha